Here's the thing that I find crazy about property influencers and investors who are putting information out there is they will give us all the information on property, on doing deals, on buy to let and whatnot, but very, very rarely do I see individual investors actually say, hey, look, here's my portfolio. Here's what I paid for the properties. Here's what the properties are worth today. Here's the cash flow that that property is generating. And to me, that's weird because it's investing. And in investing, the most important thing is the numbers and the return. So I thought, why not open up my portfolio today so you can actually have a look at the current properties that I own, how much I paid for them, what they're worth today, how much I pay on my mortgage, how much I pay in my expenses, how much cash flow they generate. And yeah, that's basically my goal. And the reason I'm creating this video is first and foremost to give you an insight into the UK buy-to-let property market. How many properties do you need to live off the income? How many properties do you need to retire? But also I'm going to be tracking the performance of my portfolio over the coming months and years. I'm looking to make some serious moves into property. I currently have 5 properties in my portfolio. I'm looking to double my portfolio over the next 12 months, and I would like to share that on the channel and to go a little bit deeper into the deals that I do. I have nothing to sell you, no course, no upsell. I'm purely doing this to document my journey and to show you what it's actually like to invest into property in the UK. So full transparency in this video, I'm going to bring up on the screen now my spreadsheet, my cash flow spreadsheet. If you become a property investor or if you already are a property investor, you know that you live and die by your spreadsheet. I don't need any fancy software to run my portfolio, anything like that. Google Sheets is enough for me, and that's where I create these sheets around property analysis for deals and to track the portfolio that I currently have and how that's performing. So let's have a look at my portfolio right now, and I want to go into a bit of an explanation behind each property because you might be quite surprised at the performance of the portfolio. In particular, there is 1 or 2 properties that have done incredibly well, but to be honest, they've all done pretty well. Now, that is a bit of luck, to be honest, because when I purchased these properties, it was at the height of the pandemic. And actually, I purchased my properties from a couple of distressed landlords. They were portfolio landlords who had been in the game for a long time. And to be honest, they were freaking out. They thought the world was going to end. And one of the landlords actually sold his properties to me for less than what he paid for them like 7 years before, which is kind of unheard of in the property game. And lo and behold, I kind of managed to buy at the bottom, and 2 years passed of property boom. Prices went mental, especially in the Northwest, which is where I invest. So I've done very, very well on those properties, and that brings me to the spreadsheet here. So let's dive in and take a little look at this. So first and foremost, we have the first property on this list. I'm going to block out the names because I don't want to give the addresses of the properties, obviously. But that property there, I paid $112,000 for. Current market value today, based on just having a look at the properties that are in that area, similar spec, similar number of bedrooms, what are they selling for? $175,000. So as we can see, the capital gain on that property is 63 grand. Not bad for a couple of years. And that is really what I found is where you make your money truly in property, is going to be long-term capital appreciation. That being said, I still think that cash flow is very, very important. So cash flow on that property, again, because I bought at a time when interest rates were literally zero, the mortgage on that is very, very good. I got a 5-year fix at 3.7%. Not possible today, unfortunately. I wish I just bought more, to be honest, but I managed to get some good deals at that time. So the mortgage fee on that is £269.69 management fee. I have all my properties managed by an agent. That enables me to focus on my other businesses that generate cash flow that I can then put into investing into more property. But the management fee is 12%, that's £95.40. Insurance, I average out the insurance on all my properties. It works out at about 15 quid. I'm not going to go crazy over, 20p here and there differences, but it works out at about 15 quid per month per property for landlord insurance. And then maintenance works out for me at around 7.5%. I do often say 10% is good, just to make sure that you're being conservative with your numbers, and you don't want to get stung by having maintenance such as, issues with the property, boilers, things like that. And again, you're probably not going to have like a consistent monthly maintenance charge on your properties. It's going to be like once a year you have a 500-600 bill for something that goes wrong, and it's just a case of managing that and having some money set aside each month. And hey, some years you might not get any issues, and then other years you might get a lot of issues, but for me it works out at about 7.5% per month. So total expenses on that first property, we have 424.72 with a monthly gross profit of £370.29. So hopefully you can see the other properties on there as well. Second property, again, was one of those that I bought in the pandemic, has done very, very well, has pretty much doubled in value, which again, I know it's very, very unheard of, but you've got to understand that at the time when I bought these properties from this distressed landlord, I was in the right place at the right time. He thought the world was going to end. He was panicking, and he just wanted to sell the properties and get out the game before the apocalypse, basically. And that is quite frankly what was happening at the time. And as Warren Buffett says, those words of his that I read years ago, be greedy when others are fearful, the way I looked at it was either the world's going to end, in which case none of this matters anyway, or I can get myself a really good property deal. When we look back at it now, of course, it was irrational how people were acting, but that's what happens in times of recession and whatnot, is opportunity arises. So today, that property, if I look at similar properties, 3-bed semis in the area in which I purchased, Chester, 300 grand is about the going rate for that kind of property. I managed to get it for 170. I know it's a very good deal, very hard to come across those deals now, although maybe, as the market continues to soften, they will present themselves again, so be on the ready for them. Again, this is a nice cash flowing property. It generates me £401 every single month. And as we can see, I've got a few other properties in there, 3 other properties in there, and in totality, my portfolio brings in £1,600 per month, £1,633 on average every single month, which works out at about 19.5 grand a year, 20 grand a year, let's call it. So that's what I'm generating from 5 properties in the portfolio. And I've also got some other numbers in here that I want to touch on. So price paid, as we can see, if I add up the prices paid for all of these properties, they are at £622,500. Now I bought these with buy-to-let mortgages, which means I put a 25% deposit down for them. And then I had some extra fees in regards to mortgages, in regards to solicitors, things like that. And I've worked that out in the total invested column, but in total I invested £186,750 leveraged into these properties at 25% buy-to-let mortgages. And as we can see, I've worked out the total market value of these properties right now, and it is just shy of £1 million, so 985,000. So from my total 622 basically investment, because I just borrowed money from the banks to lend me to do that, I have 985 grand in total worth of assets, which means that I've made 360 grand over the last 3 years from property. So this is why I love property when you buy right, because if you buy the right property at the right time and you're smart with your purchase, it has huge potential for growth, especially in opportunistic times in the market. And we see these come up roughly every few years. There's the 18-year property cycle that people talk about, but I find that these opportunities, they can be micro or macro. They can be due to a pandemic, they can be due to some kind of major global issue happening, or you could just be in the right place at the right time and find a seller who wants to get rid of that property, and you're doing them a favor by taking it off their hands quickly and efficiently for a good price. But I can't distill that enough, that property where you really, really, really make your money is capital appreciation over the long term. But that doesn't mean you should ignore cash flow. I still think that, all things being said and done, the best assumption to make actually going into a property deal is, if this never makes me a penny, if I just get back what I paid for it in 10 years or 20 years, will it still guarantee me that cash flow? Because if it does, then at least you're still getting the cash flow. And hey, if it comes to that point where you want to retire, where you want to live off your property income, that is an option. And that's certainly the point that I want to get to, where I go full time into property and I have enough to live on and enough to actually reinvest into the portfolio. And that is exactly what I'm going to be tracking on this channel over the next few months and hopefully years, the deals I'm doing and the traction that I'm making in the portfolio. So I hope that was helpful for you to actually see a real life property investor, what they're investing, what they've made, what they make on a monthly basis, and the capital appreciation from the portfolio. And it would be fantastic if you would subscribe to the channel, because it helps these kind of videos to get out to more people, real transparent videos on property, on UK buy to let, and what I'm navigating. You know, I'm not an expert, I don't have a course to sell you, none of that BS. I'm just tracking my journey, and selfishly, it's because I want to look back on it in a few years and look at the progress that I made over that time. So hope that was helpful, and until next time, all the best and take care.